And we are moving on to something a little bit different here about comedy. Yeah, comedy. And we'll get started with this. Okay. Again, the theme is, what are they selling? I want to talk about the case of two comedians, Jerry Seinfeld and Dave Chappelle. One has been ridiculed relentlessly, I would say, for the past couple of years. The other, not so much, but one would say that he should be ridiculed, right? And I want to show you a difference. I want to start with Dave Chappelle, who just recently made a statement about his last appearance on SNL for 2025. Now, that appearance happened in January, but he has now decided to come forward with some information. This is after the SNL 50th anniversary special, which happened on Sunday. Dave Chappelle apparently was censored during his SNL performance in January, and he's speaking out about it now, and I think you guys need to hear this. Dave Chappelle says SNL producers forbade him from talking about Gaza and trans people. So here we go. Again, he just came out with this information. Look at the look on Dave's face. You love that look, right? He's like, what? You gotta love that look. Okay. This part right here, just a month removed from his recent SNL appearance, where he delivered an over 15-minute monologue. Dave Chappelle said he was forbidden by the late night show's producers from speaking on two topics. Per San Francisco Gate senior culture editor Dan Gentile, who saw the comedian at the first of 3 San Francisco stand-up appearances at the Masonic, Chappelle alleged he was not allowed to speak about Gaza and transgender people. NBC did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Now, why is this important? Because Dave Chappelle still mentioned Gaza. He still talked about it, even though they told him that he couldn't. I don't think he said anything about trans people, but he did still talk about Gaza. And I want to say something really quickly about SNL that people may not be aware of. Honestly, SNL, you really don't have room to talk, particularly when it comes to transgender people. When I was growing up watching SNL had some really cringe takes against the LGBTQ community. Some of you may remember this. Those of you, if you were like me and you grew up watching SNL, like, 90s, early 2000 era, and then they weren't funny anymore and they fell all the way fuck off. But you remember like that Adam Sandler, Chris Farley like crew. Yeah. SNL had a animated segment, and it was these two guys, and they called them the gay duo. They made fun of gay people with that. They made fun of gay people with multiple skits. So SNL, you really ain't got room to talk. That's the thing that kills me. Right? So that's interesting. Some of the younger people may not know that. But those of us, when I was growing up watching SNL was a lot more. You want to talk about people saying that, there were sensitive subjects. There were very sensitive subjects. You go all the way back to when Richard Pryor had appeared, on SNL. There was a skit of Richard Pryor, and I think that was Chevy Chase at the time, going back and forth with each other, calling each other racial slurs. Now, you won't see that on SNL today. But what I'm saying is, you guys of all people really don't have room to talk. Really don't have room to talk. It goes on to say here, I want you to hear what he did say. Despite this, Dave Chappelle's monologue did mention Palestine. I want to get into what he said. We'll highlight this here for everybody. The presidency is no place for petty people. So Donald Trump, I know you watched the show. Man, remember, whether people voted for you or not, they are counting on you. Whether they like you or not, They're all counting on you. The whole world is counting on you. I mean this when I say good luck. Please do better next time. Please, all of us, do better next time. Do not forget your humanity, and please have empathy for displaced people, whether they're in the Palisades or Palestine. Very interesting. So Dave Chappelle went on to mention it anyway, which is what he should have done. That's Dave Chappelle. And then there's Jerry Seinfeld. I want to show you what Jerry Seinfeld said recently about Palestine. So this is a pro-Palestinian activist. Watch this.
Jerry, can I get a selfie?
Sure.
Free Palestine.
I don't care about Palestine.
That's sad. Jerry, can I get a selfie?
Sure.
Free Palestine.
I don't care about Palestine.
So there's Jerry Seinfeld. I don't care about Palestine. Jerry Seinfeld is a nasty, disgusting person. And it's not just because of this comment. Now, I want you to remember something, because there was this whole cancel campaign for Dave Chappelle. Who did stand up for the Palestinian people. Jerry Seinfeld, not so much. Jerry Seinfeld, in this photo, which he deleted because he got a lot of criticism for it. Seinfeld, seen in the photo posted on Facebook by Caliber 3, then deleted, embodies a stream of American liberalism that abhors guns at home, but glorifies Israeli violence that targeted Palestinians. So here is Jerry Seinfeld hanging out with IDF soldier. Jerry Seinfeld took his entire family over to Israel to do basically like these pretend hunt games where they would pretend to kill Palestinians. What kind of evil exists here? This is evil. This is Jerry Seinfeld, right? This is who you see Chris Rock hanging out with. We're going to call out the black people that's doing this mess. Chris Rock hanging out with Jerry Seinfeld. The same guy that said, I don't care about Palestine. You see this? Disgusting. This is what Jerry, he advocates for. It gets worse. He advocates for it. You don't hear him say, I want all of this to end. He don't even go that far. He won't even say, well, I just want all of it to stop. No, he wants the Palestinian people dead. Who goes over there to do that? This is the guy that people pay all this money to go see? This is the guy who sells out shows? You're not even funny. Jerry Seinfeld isn't even that fucking funny. The other cast members on Seinfeld were funnier than you. Don't tell him I said that. That might hurt his feelings. He might make another podcast with Barry Weiss and start crying and playing victim. Jerry Seinfeld is not oppressed. Here is Jerry Seinfeld at the Mets game saying, let's go IDF. Watch this again. A disgusting person.
Jerry, my brother's watching from the Gaza border. Can I get a video for him? Yeah, he's on the Gaza border staying up late at night to watch. Can I get a video for him?
Jerry, let's go Mets.
Let's go
IDF.
Let's go IDF.
So there's Jerry Seinfeld. Let's go IDF. He's not calling for peace. Jerry Seinfeld is calling for death and destruction of the Palestinian people. That's what he wants. That's what he wants. And it's not just him. I don't know. I'm noticing a little bit of a trend here with some of these cast members from Seinfeld. A little bit of a trend. I want to remind you of Michael Richards. The comment that he made in 2006, Seinfeld actor lets fly with racist tirade. Oh no, I didn't forget about this, Michael Richards. I did not forget about this. Richards took exception when some Black audience members talked during his act in LA Comedy Club on Friday night. And let me tell you what they said, since they didn't put it here in the article. They said he's not funny, and he wasn't. During that stand-up, he wasn't funny. But how did he choose to respond? He chose to respond like this. This is what he said. 50 years ago, we'd have you upside down with a fucking fork up your ass. He said that to Black audience members. Now, if I remember correctly, those members that he was talking to were Harvard students. He went on to call them, and by the way, it's not like he was joking. Like he went, if you've seen the video, you know what I'm talking about. Like he went off at them because he couldn't take the fact that people said you weren't funny. He went on to say, throw his ass out. He's an N, he's an N, he's an N, a N. Look, there's an N. And that was when the audience stopped laughing. They weren't laughing at that part. Michael Richards, just 8 months ago, was on The View to talk about this. And I'll show you how fake as hell these women are. Sonny Hostin, as much as you can call out racism on the right, as much as you can say anybody who supported Donald Trump is racist, et cetera, you literally had someone sitting right next to you who told this guy that he was an N-word over and over, and to throw him out and said he'd be hanging upside down from a tree. And I want you to see the way that she treated Michael Richards when he gave his little spiel here.
Well, I'm so happy that you're here. And let me just start by saying, I don't believe in cancel culture. I believe in consequence culture. And you've paid a lot of consequences.
Indeed.
So we understand that. And so let's go to your infamous racial tirade on stage at the Laugh Factory back in 2006. Mm-hmm. We all saw that. It went viral. You were being heckled by some Black audience members, and you responded with racial slurs. Mm. What happened? Mm-hmm. Just what were you thinking? What happened?
Notice how calm she is talking to someone who actually said racist things. And notice how she talks about people who didn't say racist things, but they supported Trump. Does everybody see this? She's more calm with Michael Richards than she is to, I forget her name, Alisa, who kind of doesn't support Trump, but likes some things that Trump does. She is more calm with Michael Richards, who told Black people they would be hanging upside down from a tree and called them N-word over and over and over again, than she is with her own co-host, Alyssa. So what's really going on?
Yeah. Well, I'm on stage with a microphone in my hand, doing an act, breaking in material. It's late at night, and man in the audience made an announcement that I'm not funny. He doesn't think I'm very funny, and I came back. Now, first, I must say, look, I'm not a normal man.
Or any of us?
Well, you're a comedian.
No, but I mean, as a
all.
comedian, you got it. Yeah. There's a lot of eccentricity going on in my kind of comedy, and certainly I could never have created a character like Kramer without being slightly touched. So I went into character. And I work in a comedy club environment where the N-word is used a lot. And I decided I would Let it loose.
So here's the big lie. What he said there on The View is not the original statement that he gave. The original statement that he gave was not that the word is used in the comedy club oftentimes and he just let it loose. The original statement that he gave was the fact that what the guy said to him, said he wasn't funny, actually was true. And he took it very personally and decided to try to humiliate him as much that he could. So let's be very clear here, okay? The number one, the version of that word that he heard is not the version with the ER at the end. Number two, if you actually watch the Laugh Factory video of him on the stage, it was very clear the message that he was getting across. And number three, he admitted what he did and what he said was wrong earlier on. So this is Michael Richards trying to make himself out to look like the victim. Similar to how Jerry Seinfeld tried to make himself look like the victim. In the conversation he had with Barry Weiss, make himself look like the victim. Does everybody see the game that is played? The person who does the harm turns it around and says that they're the ones who have been victimized. Now, I said I noticed a trend, and I have. You'll see it here. Very different response from what he said on The View recently. My anger was all over the place. But when he went on to The View, he said, well, that word is used. So that wasn't what he said before. Trying to make yourself look like the victim when you are the one who victimized. You are the one who it's so classic day and night. This is a Zionist tale. I'm the one doing the harm. I'm the one that is brutalizing people. I'm the one that is projecting supremacy onto people. I'm the one who are doing those things, but I'm the victim. That is the Zionist playbook. As I told you before, I'm noticing a trend with these Seinfeld characters. Even when Jason Alexander is questioned about this, I want you to hear what Jason Alexander said about Michael Richards. Listen to this.
Speaking of old school pissing off the audience, Michael Richards in that situation, I interviewed Gloria Allred about that situation. Yeah. She was like, I'm representing the black members of the audience. She's obviously wants money, but I said, I get it. They were offended, but why do they need to be paid? And she said, well, he needs to pay. And I said, oh, he's going to pay. I don't think it's enhanced his career.
Here's all I have to say about Mike. I love him completely. I got to work beside him for 9 years. The four of us don't see each other a lot since the show ended, but I marveled at Michael's ability, and I marveled at him for 9 years. He took a role that was supposed to be a one scene per episode. Do
you see the direction this is going in? This is Jason Alexander's response for what Michael Richards said. He was a great actor. He was a do-do-do. He was a blah, blah, blah. These are things that really need to be said. I mean, if you watched Seinfeld before, everybody can see that he did a really great job as the character Kramer. Why do you need to reinforce this? Does he go on to comment about what he said? Watch this.
Turned it into a thing where arguably, I think one of the reasons the show expanded at least into where younger kids were watching it and international audiences were watching it was Michael, because Michael's work was so largely physical, and clown is an international language. And I just think we would have been lost without him. And I know his heart, and I love him dearly. And that's all I can say about him.
That's all he can say about that, ladies and gentlemen. So I've noticed a trend with these cast members from Seinfeld. You know, Jason Alexander has done stand-up comedy before too, just like Michael Richards, just like Jerry Seinfeld as well. But ultimately, this is giving me, these vibes. It gives me these vibes, right? So put it all together. You got Jerry Seinfeld going to Israel to hang out with the IDF, brought his whole family. Let's go out there and have some good time and pretend to kill Palestinians. Then you got Michael Richards screaming at a black guy in the audience, telling him you would have been hanging upside down and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That the guy told him he wasn't funny. There were a number of ways that you could have responded to that. There were a number of ways, but you decided to hit below the belt and bring up the race topic. You decided to show that you still believe that you're superior to him because he's black. Number of things you could have said about that guy. Number of things, but you went that way. Then you got Jason Alexander there when questioned about this. Jason Alexander's just like, oh, well, he was a great actor and this great guy. And that's I know his heart and da-da-da. So I noticed a trend. People asking about Julia Dreyfus when this topic of Gaza came up. She said her sympathy is with her Jewish friends. So I guess in her world, fuck them Palestinians too. And then we go back to Dave Chappelle because I'm trying to prove a point. When I ask you what are they selling, Dave Chappelle took a chance. They told him, don't you dare talk about this. Don't you say this. He decided to mention it anyway. Because Dave Chappelle knows what is really happening to the Palestinian people. And he's like, no, you need to see them as human, just like I want you to see me as human. But Jerry Seinfeld, and I got to be very, very clear about this. Jerry Seinfeld says, I don't care about Palestine. And you don't see the public enrage against him the way they did against Dave Chappelle. I put this on X, I think it was yesterday. It's really interesting. All these people that said cancel Dave Chappelle. There were venues that were saying, Dave Chappelle, no, we're canceling your show here. You can't perform here. But nobody is canceling Jerry Seinfeld shows. Jerry Seinfeld is still going across the country doing comedy shows. But he tells you he doesn't care about Palestine. And he goes over there to train with the IDF to pretend to kill Palestinians. But I don't see that public outcry against him. They're not trying to stop his shows. Meanwhile, last year, there were a number of us, especially if you live in the Boston area, where we saw professors lose their damn job because they participated in a pro-Palestinian protest. No, it's not even. No, it's not equal. No, it's not the same on both sides. It's very clear which side is being elevated and which side is being attacked. It's very clear what side you're on when a number of people in certain positions come after you and try to cancel you, and those same people don't do that to said comedian who's against Palestine. What are they trying to sell? Jerry Seinfeld is selling Zionism. But more importantly, Jerry Seinfeld, he's selling hate, death, and destruction. That's what Jerry Seinfeld is selling. And honestly, I think a lot of people probably didn't even remember this dude for quite some time. A lot of us forgot about Jerry Seinfeld because I ain't really see you do shit since that show went off the air. Because that was kind of all you had. Sorry, it's a reality. You really weren't that funny. And then you came back into the news again after October 7th. I literally forgot who the fuck Jerry Seinfeld was. Forgot all about you. Now, what is Dave Chappelle trying to sell? I think Dave Chappelle is against censorship, heavily against it. I think Dave Chappelle is trying to get people to see, and it's sad you got to do this in 2025, but to see the Palestinians as human beings and that what Israel's doing is wrong. So you have a tale of two comedians, but they're not the same. Not when it comes to the important issues. And the one who stood up for Gaza, and he's done it multiple times, Dave Chappelle, he's the one that they've been trying to cancel. He's the one that was censored on SNL. Jerry Seinfeld still just walks about, says whatever the hell he wants about Palestinian people. And honestly, it's not even looked at differently. So I don't like when people make this comparison and say, oh, well, they're kind of this. No, they're not the same. And I think people need to stop saying that comedians are the same. Because what I look for is, where do you stand on the issues when it matters? And I think you can all see where Jerry Seinfeld stands. The best thing that you can do is to not go to his shows. That's for damn sure. I told you he ain't that funny anyways. You just wasting your money. Go see somebody else. Go see someone more funny. Save your money otherwise. Save your money otherwise. But when it comes to Gaza in particular, you can see there is a stark difference with some of these comedians. And they are definitely not in agreement when you look at Chappelle and you look at Seinfeld. Very, very different. Who would you rather have a beer with? Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.